I want to call the meeting to order, please. Everybody, please take a seat. This is the regular meeting of the Village of Corrales governing body. I'd like to call it to order. Please turn off your telephones or put them on vibrate if you would, so you don't disturb anybody who's testifying. And then stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Councilor Miera.
Aquí.
Councilor Woolman.
Here.
Councilor Knight.
Here.
Councilor Brooke is excused. Councilor Burkett.
Here.
Councilor Murray.
Here.
Has everybody had a chance to look over the agenda? If so, I need a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So first up is Fire Chief Anthony Martinez, who's going to give us an update on all his firefighting projects and how he's going to get all his money spent in the appropriate time before it goes away.
Money.
Mayor, Council, Administrator Curry, thank you for the opportunity. I know I attach information on our monthly report. I just kind of wanted to go into a little more detail and if you had any questions. So first off, I just want to start out that I know I've been before you and last year we talked about, projects that we've been doing with the Bosque, pertaining to the Bosque. We have a project that we're going to be pursuing here shortly, just some maintenance along the toe, which is just a reoccurring maintenance contract with State Forestry. But this year, listening to citizens of the Bosque Advisory Commission, we added an addendum that is in legal right now in the State Forestry to see if we can include some extra funds to help with some of the dead and down. Those of you that utilize our beautiful Bosque realize, we have a lot of dead and down that we're trying to remove, and if we can harvest that and give it away for firewood and try to reduce the fire load and fuel load in our Bosque. So I wanted to give you an update on that. Our fire truck pumper purchase has been, we're waiting for delivery. Last we heard, it was scheduled to be delivered to the facility here in New Mexico to just kind of go over the inspection of it. So hopefully soon, but those funds have been expended and we're just waiting on delivery of our new fire truck. So thanks again. Junior bill money that we had received from the state legislature for $75,000 has been spent. We purchased a wood chipper to help us with some of this fire mitigation projects, and we've already been utilizing it on a particular road here in Corrales where all the neighbors came together to get rid of some of their dry vegetation just to try to make their road a little fire safe. So we're proud to bring that to you. And so we received the money from the state legislature and it's already been spent. So that's a good thing. Our Angel Hill Fire Suppression Project, we're still working with the state Clearwater Revolving Fund. We have a PER for the tank and we're in negotiations now with the engineering firm to do a PER for the design of the infrastructure, the water lines for that. So I wanted to give you an update on that. The water lines, we have $1,650,000 that we're looking at utilizing those funds to help extend the water lines. The money can be used for village-wide. Our focus is trying to utilize the fire suppression line at the elementary school where we put in a new hydrant at the outside their fence to go along Andrew's drain. And we've been coordinating with the Interior Drain Committee and been involved in letting them know kind of where we want to run our lines and hydrants, so it doesn't impact them, but we're still able to install the infrastructure. Our goal is to get as closest to the Bosque as we can. We're looking for the path of least resistance. We're looking at possibly Dixon Road as an alternative, but if we follow Andrews all the way down, we can intersect the Bosque just south of Meadowlark. So that's our goal. Still working on broadband to better our internet service at both fire stations. We do have some money for that, and we're coordinating with our clerk and trying to find the best options for our dollar that we received. Our fire training facility, we got some funds to help with that. I'll be getting with Ron and trying to see if I could hire our on staff our contract engineer, Steve Grohlman, to kind of do a site development plan so I could take it to planning and zoning to amend our existing site development plan. Fire suppression lines, we had $275,000 that we still have some funds in that. We're hoping to close that out. I do have some pictures up, or Melanie's going to show some pictures, but this is just this hydrant here was installed. This is right next to the cemetery at Old Church Road. It's a fully functional hydrant. It's been static pressure tested, and it's already sent over to the insurance industry to get credit on it. But anyone within 1,000 feet of that fire hydrant at Old Church Road by the cemetery is eligible for an insurance reduction. So we're very proud to get that installed. We utilized we utilized the easement that you can see there where we came out from the cemetery's property. The Archdiocese, the local church, they were very kind to work with the Village of Corrales and giving us an easement to run that 8-inch line. This line is fed off of the water tank on Loma Larga, which is 84,000 gallons. And our next phase in this, which some of our money is we're going to use, is to make the connection along Old Church Road. And we hope in the next month we can start construction, but I am personally trying to wait until after the holiday because we're going to have to tear up the road. And I know that there's multiple functions going on at the old church during, the holiday season. So, but we will make the connection and it'll tie both systems together, which will give us a capacity of over 200,000 gallons of water, because it'll be our main station system and Loma Larga system. So next, you can see where we kind of went parallel with the cemetery wall. This is the one that I've been before you in discussing, where we were trying to do an easement through the city of Albuquerque and Casa San Isidro, but this is the alternate route, and it worked out really, really well. So, next picture. This is where we made the connection from underneath the Loma Larga ditch. A lot of people have been asking us where we get the water from. So we paralleled Loma Larga Road from the green tank on Loma Larga. And then we had to get a license agreement through the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District to go underneath their ditch. And this is how we did that. So I just wanted to show that so the public could see how we made that connection. Next. This is a new hydrant at the corner of Ella and Loma Larga. It's on the east side of the ditch, Loma Larga ditch. And I just want to say thanks to all the residents there that live along that road. We impact their traffic quite a bit. We did the construction. It took a little while to pave it, but it's all complete now. And anyone within this 1,000 feet of that fire hydrant is eligible for an insurance reduction as well. So next. And you could see how we went across Loma Larga, and that pipe also had to go underneath the Loma Larga Canal. Next. And I think I attached some pictures there. Next. It wasn't an easy job. Those of you that saw the construction of this, we had to go 4 feet below the bottom of the ditch. That was the requirement. So this was a very special job, required a lot of digging because of the risk of a cave-in on the canal, risk of to the employees doing the work. So this one took a little longer than expected, but the job got completed safely. So next. And you can see this is a different profile of these guys are safely working in the trench, but you can see how the pipe has to go through a sleeve, and that sleeve is 4 feet below the lower part of the ditch. So it was pretty deep. Next. And you can see, of course, safety's first, and they had trench boxes. So Next item, the Casa San Isidro, or the Casa water line, which I touched briefly on making that connection. We're in the process of doing the wage decision and the NOO to the state, so we could proceed with that. And that project's going to include the water line extension and tie-in to the main fire station in Loma Larga, but also include a wastewater line that was basically terminated by the big tree by the church, and it's going to run west. So we're going to take that wastewater line further west for Mike if there's any potential future hookups. We have been awarded a $300,000 fire protection grant. We're waiting for the money to be delivered to the village and then deposited, and then I'll be before you to do a bar. This grant we applied for was to extend the water line on Loma Larga, where I stopped at Angel Road or close to Angel Road, to proceed north along Loma Larga and go underneath the main canal to try to provide water to the industrial, what we call the industrial, which is the big buildings there off of the Academy. And so we just went through an ISO inspection, and that's an area of concern for them. It hasn't had water there. We've looked for years to try to put a tank. The village doesn't own any property there, so the next option is trying to get the water line underneath the ditch through easements to go along Academy to provide fire hydrants to the businesses and to the schools. So we're real excited about that. Obviously, the grant, the people that reviewed the grant liked the idea, and we got awarded the $300,000. So we'll go as far as what $300,000 takes us. I feel very confident we'll get underneath the ditch and at least one fire hydrant on the other side to Academy this year. So, and just a couple other grants we applied for. We applied for the CWDG grant again this year. Last year they liked our grant, but we didn't receive it. So you guys know Tanya, she works really hard. She talks to people on the grant committees or the grant review people, and it's like, what can we do better? How can we make this grant better? So we applied again. This grant is to include firefighting equipment to help us. It's more based on wildland urban interface in the Bosque, to include fire suppression, high pressure sprinklers, and something that we can provide in areas where we have water for fire suppression. So, and we did apply for a YCC grant this year. It's been a couple of years. We took a break. We'll hopefully hear in the next couple of weeks if we got any of the grants. We applied for 2 teams, 2 groups, one to help us in the summertime and one to help us in the fall. So the focus is in the spring, summer would be training, members of the wildland, of the YCC group, fire suppression, basic first aid, and in the fall, we would be focused on doing mitigation work in the Bosque where our shaded field breaks and other needs like dead and down and stuff. So that's kind of an update on what we've been doing and what we're doing, and a lot of work. So I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Bill?
Yeah, just one quick question. Is the ultimate goal to eventually have everyone within 1,000 feet of a hydrant in the village?
That's a very ambitious goal. Yes, I don't think it'll be done during my career here, but that's a plan.
Well, you have another 40 or so years. I mean,
the mayor and administration, I've presented also to the council kind of like a master plan of areas that we own village property, areas that we have easement or shared easement with quasi-government like MRGCD or SCAFCA. The issue that we're faced with is we're basically the last utility to go in the village of Corrales. And so a lot of this was not planned in the past. And so there might be in the future requiring, some property purchases or purchases with easements to try to get these lines closer to communities. But right now my focus has been Corrales Road, where I can, to impact the commercial business. If I can get hydrants within 500 feet of every commercial business along the Corrales corridor, That's going to save the business owner and fire insurance and potentially save their business if there was a fire. And I'm going to run along Loma Larga. We have a license agreement for the next, I think, 50 years with the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District to go from Cabazon all the way to the very north into Corrales along their main canal. And we're in the process of doing the same exact thing on Andrews, which takes us to the Bosque, all the way north to about Valverde, where their easement runs out. So that's going to basically divide the village of Corrales kind of like in thirds. And then from there, we'll have to look at lateral roads, public roads, village-owned roads, where we can go and intersect each other. So, yeah.
Bill?
Okay, so you answered one of my questions I was going to ask about. From Cabazon all the way north will eventually be hooked up on Loma Larga. So right now, the last hydrant going south is at West Stella, and it's on the east side of the ditch then?
So the last hydrant going south, which I didn't include a picture, and I totally, until you brought that up, is right there at Sandia Road. So it's further south of Ella.
Okay.
It's in between Ella and La Entrada.
Oh,
Yeah, and that one has a cap on it, and it's ready to continue south based on funding. And as you know, as I get funding, it could be $10,000 I could put into a system, or it could be $500,000. The system is designed to where whatever funding source I have, whether it's village, grants, state legislation, we're ready to put the money into that project and just extend based on whether I'm going south or north. That's where I try to close out my projects where they could just keep going based on funding sources. Yep.
okay, thank you, Chief.
You're welcome. And I wanted to, sorry,
Go
I
ahead.
wanted to clarify, that system along Loma Larga right now is only tied into an 84,000 gallon water tank. But once I make the connection at Old Church Road, I'll be using the main station, fire station water tank as well, because they'll be connected. So if there's an increase in demand for water, I'm going to be able to use the 84,000 and my 120,000. And as the systems start growing and linking together, the more capacity I start building and the more redundancies I start having.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councilor Miera?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Who are the locals, or how do the locals get access to the YCC component of what you were talking about?
So if we get awarded the grant, then we usually publish and post, and for the job opportunity, it's a full, you apply, have to fill out an application, there's an interview process, but we're required to publish and post, I believe, on the internet, locally, Albuquerque Journal. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Stuart?
Thank you, Councilor Mayor. So on the addendum to your maintenance for the tow, and you're looking at removing the dead and down, how far can you get with what you applied for? I mean, are we looking at the entire bosque or just certain parts of it?
I would love to do the entire bosque, but just the workforce right now would just be, even if we hired a contractor, it's just too much.
Now, have you identified in areas that?
We have identified an area, and this area, again, is kind of ambitious, but we're looking at, since the focus lately has been at Siphon and all the work that's being done at Siphon, and the importance of making sure that the toe of the levee, because of the risk that the river is getting closer to the levee, has been our focus this year. So once we get approval for the funds, we want to do some maintenance along the toe for inspection purposes, and also try to get rid of the dead and down from Siphon all the way to Harvey Jones. But again, that's based on workload and availability of crews, and if we go out and hire contractors.
So how much, now shifting gears a little bit and to add on to Councilor Knight's comment, how much money would you need to go from Sandia Road south to Cabazon? How much funding would you need? Or do you have an idea?
I did not calculate that, and I didn't anticipate that question.
I'm just curious.
I do have it marked out as far as mileage, and based on linear foot. That's a good question. Yeah, it'd probably be over $500,000.
Okay.
I'm just guessing.
Yeah, I mean, I understand if you haven't got the figure, but I was just curious. Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
Councilwoman.
Yeah, given last Tuesday's vote, do you have a time frame, a schedule for Fire Station 3?
I do not. I'm working on it. We have permission from the Middle River Grant Conservancy. I've talked to a couple of architects already. I'm looking at the site as a whole. I'm actually reevaluating the site now to see to get the most bang for our dollar pertaining to that. I also want to include, landscaping and all that. So, but I don't have a time frame. But as soon as we get the money and we're able to start purchasing, then I'll be ready to start going out for bid and executing.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I guess that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank
Anthony.
you.
I'd like to take this opportunity, I'm sorry, somebody had it? I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize our representative, Kathleen Cates, who's trying to hide herself back in the back. Okay. Angela, do you want to speak? Please.
Good evening, Mayor, councilors, and Administrator Curry. Thanks for having us tonight. We like to give an update when we can. Quarterly is obviously ideal, but sometimes time goes fast. But I think what I'd like to focus on a little bit tonight is we are just coming off of our accreditation process in October. And I sent the survey out quite a bit. We had multiple surveys, but there was a survey that was a community feedback survey that's part of the information that goes to New Mexico Main Street. So our accreditation process is through New Mexico Main Street, but it's guided by National Main Street. And so some of this is shareable if anybody's interested. There's a lot of information. And I think, it's interesting to us because it guides all of the work that we do. And Administrator Curry is kind enough to join all of our meetings. And I think most recently, we went over this survey. And I think, it was interesting to him to see, kind of how much goes into the structure of the work that we do. I think it's because, most visibly, we're running events and parades and doing a lot of community engagement work, which is part of, the key components. There's a lot of structural work that goes into what we do, and that guides our service contract with the village. And we've sort of rewritten it this year based on these standards that come from National Main Street. And a lot of the reporting that we do to you all is based in these standards, and then of course the service contract deliverables. And so I wanted to take the time tonight to just share this, let everybody know that obviously we were given our accreditation, and that one of the main highlights from it was the responsiveness from our community and partners this year. The amount of survey response, it's not this one, but the one that we sent out to the community, was the highest that they've ever received or seen ever, I guess, in the history of New Mexico accreditation. So the reason I say that is because I think, we've got a lot of good engagement and support, obviously, from you all and the village, which we really appreciate. This is our work plan, and it's 23 pages long. So obviously we're not going to get into it too much, but I just want you all to know that it exists. And if anybody does want to go over it or spend time talking a little bit about it. It really talks about the way that we're structured with our committees, the 4-point approach, and then the National Main Street standards that we follow in order to accomplish all the work that we do. So that was sort of my goal tonight, was just to share actually the internal structures, talk about the accreditation we've received, and then obviously Small Business Saturday and the Starlight Parade are on the agenda a little bit later. So those are immediate projects and events that are coming up that should be really fun and very community oriented. But I just wanted to go ahead and talk about this a little bit, and any questions. I know we did just submit a quarterly report.
Any questions? Councilman Murray.
Thank you, Mayor, councilors. So this has to do with your quarterly report. I'm looking at the pedestrian access routes. So we seem to have a problem that New Mexico DOT is not responding. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, I think that's a simple way to explain it. It's not that they're not responding. I think that there's quite a bit of a process, and obviously this is a little bit of a stamina situation, I think, for all of us involved. But I think the ball is in their court at this point to respond to the most recent requests of us to submit an informational packet, which we've done. I think the trails and maps plan is the last and final thing, which should be done, I think, around the beginning of the year, that they are waiting on from us to be able to basically say yes or not.
Okay, so one of the things that I've noticed is that the state has to be ADA compliant, and we're nowhere near ADA compliant within the commercial district. So
Sure.
is there any way we can use that as kind of leverage to make them move a little bit?
Yeah, I think that there are going to be numerous things, and obviously pedestrian safety in general is going to be, I think, something that really will be, you know, a catalyst for helping us get this done, you know, in its eventuality. But part of the message is that Corrales Road in and of itself is not up to code. And so if we all wanted to start talking about the NMDOT codes, that may not end up being something that, you know, is absolutely desirable for us. And so it's kind of a fine line between being compliant, looking at the codes, understanding that we have a historic district and that our road is never going to be a traditional one, and how do we improve pedestrian safety while considering all of these things. And so I think from a Main Street perspective, we're in a good place in terms of the relationship, and we're just waiting for that last bit of information to come through.
Well, I think it also plays into the safe routes to schools, because now I understand we've got middle schoolers that are going to be coming into the Corrales Elementary, from what I understand. That's also going to increase traffic, and we've got to have some safe ways of getting our kiddos, you know, to and from the school.
Yeah, and I appreciate that a lot have got children that age, and it's very true. And I think, you know, if anybody who passes through the school zone right at the heat of drop off, it's a short burst, but it's tough.
Well,
So
it's going to be even more tough because now with 3 more grades coming in,
yeah,
and especially probably out of the village limits people, I mean, there's going to be a lot more traffic there.
yeah. When I really appreciate your perspective on it, because I think these components will be part of what, you know, is really important for being able to get this
Okay, thank you.
finally accomplished. So
Anyone else? Angela, thank you very much.
thank you all.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Moving on. Oh, Mr. Curry, you are up.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, councilors. Before I ask Tanya to give you a health update, I just wanted to comment on Chief Martinez's presentation and emphasize to you as a body the challenges that the chief and the village went through negotiating some of the work that he was describing tonight. Those negotiations have gone on for literally years before I got here. And the challenges that the city of Albuquerque presented to the chief were, in my opinion, unreasonable. And, but on the other hand, I would like to give as many kudos as possible to the church and the Museum of San Isidro in trying to make it happen. And so I applaud the chief. We had the help of our attorney, Randy Audio, getting involved, trying to use some of his past contacts with the city of Albuquerque, trying to make it happen. But I just want to emphasize the positiveness that we worked with the church and the museum, and that's what made it happen, and the persistence of Anthony and Steve Groman and Michael Chavez in trying to get this all done so that we could get that line laid down there. And so that's in the background. It caused the chief more headaches than he would like to have, but the persistence paid off. And you just need to know that. The other thing I want to mention, what Angela was talking about, I did have the opportunity to sit in to that meeting, which I guess you'd have to say was interesting to policy wonks. But what I saw there was a great deal of effort by the committee, the Main Street Committee, to try to do some really serious integrated planning that was really beneficial, I think, in the long term for the village. And so just a tip of the cap to the Main Street Committee in trying to get that done. So with that, Tanya, you want to give a health update, please?
Thank you, Mayor, Council Administrator Curry. Yes, I have a horse as my picture today. Just to remind everybody that the kickoff to the food drive is this Sunday with the Christmas Day Caballos Parade. So I picked a nice horse from a previous one. Let's start off with today is the 14th. So we are roughly 10 days away from the Thanksgiving holiday, which means if you get COVID or flu within this next couple of days or after, that's going to affect your holiday coming up. So think carefully before you do things. Get your boosters for COVID and get a flu shot if you haven't done it. We're going to start with flu today because we are one of 3 states, and New Mexico is one of 3 states that have moved into the red, which is the second of high. There's 3 categories of high. We are the middle one. We are the second category of high for flu activity right now. Only 3 states, us, Puerto Rico, and Alaska. Let's go over a little bit of COVID stuff. We're going through a box of 84 tests, 84 test packs, which means there's 4 per pack at Village Hall in about 3 days. So a lot of people are picking up COVID tests, which is good. Maybe they're also preparing for the holiday to test before they go see at-risk loved ones. But I do know there's a lot of COVID activity in the village. The state updated their website today. So the last report they had, they were running 84 cases per 100,000. When I say cases, I don't mean someone who tested at home and got Paxlovid. These are people who went to the emergency room or went to a doctor's office and actually or a pharmacy and got a lab test. We were running 84 per 100,000. We are now on their last count at 112 per 100,000. Our hospitalizations were 140 for 7-day average, went to 141 at the last. However, today there were 56 individuals in the hospital with COVID, 14 of them in New Mexico, 14 of them were in ICU. Our case positivity from the previous 7 days went from 20.8 to 22.2. So we're still, even though nationally the numbers are coming down, we are still in that upward trajectory of cases, and our hospitalizations will continue to go upward, usually for about 2 weeks after case counts go up. We do have for comparison, there's only 7 people in the hospital in New Mexico right now for flu. So that 156 to 7 is a big jump. And that is, I would give you wastewater update, but the state of New Mexico quit giving wastewater information as of August 16th. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Councilor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. So Tanya, when I was looking at the state website for scheduling a vaccination, they seem to be leaving off certain pharmacies. I was just wondering, is that something that's an oversight, or is it something that's not included in the database, or what might be going on there? Because
so the pharmacies that are on the state website have agreed to join the state website and schedule through there. So some of the bigger pharmacies are not going to be on there. They're just using their own scheduling stuff. Before they did it because, they were getting free vaccine. It was kind of one of those things they needed to do to keep getting free vaccine. But now, so most of your big corporate pharmacies probably aren't on there. They want you to go directly to their websites to schedule.
But if you go through one of the big pharmacies, it'll update the state records as well.
Yes, there is a state law for vaccinations. That all vaccinations need to go into the NMSIS, the system the state uses to report federally for vaccines. So it should go in there. Keep your card in case it doesn't. The big pharmacies have been really, really good about it, getting in there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Tanya.
The next thing I'd like to report on is the Animal Services Building, which has been delayed yet again. And the reason why is that as we've moved forward, there have just been too many surprises for us. And what we have found is that, and I just want to be clear about this, is that what we have found is that there's been certainly some miscommunication between us and Horizon, who's the construction of the building, and also between them and the state of New Mexico as far as the requirements go. We are having to go back in and retrofit the inside plumbing and the electrical in the building, because even though those buildings have been shipped into New Mexico prior to this, we seem to have come into a situation where this building has acquired more scrutiny from the state construction industry division. And I can't tell you an exact reason why, but the building as we bought it and they thought that what we were getting is something that has not come to fruition as far as meeting the codes of the state of New Mexico. And one of the reasons is because if you compare this building to what sits up in Sandoval County, this building is sitting on a slab. And so that changes the whole ballgame as far as the construction industry division is concerned, as opposed to what's sitting up in Sandoval County, which is elevated. And so that changes the way that they approach the plumbing regulations and the electrical regulations. So we're looking now at extra expense, that we're looking at how to fund that. And I will give you a full report as we continue to find out what the exact problems are. And we're looking at a delay now that we anticipate to be into late February or early March. So I report that sadly, but I also will continue to give you updates as we continue to analyze the situation and see what the best steps forward are.
Councilor Waldman?
Yeah, I'm just curious. I know that facility bill had to go to the state to get the permits initially. Did the state not understand then what the project was? What do you think happened early on?
Counselor, you know, there's a little bit of editorializing here that I will give you, is that
If you allow for an op-ed.
I think because this company had been in New Mexico before, they had slipped under the radar perhaps from the state CID. And once this popped up in front of the CID became very aggressive in trying to find out, even to the point of asking for where you have other buildings within the state of New Mexico. And there was no response from the company.
But Sandoval County has added buildings from Horizon since the one they.
Right, and then that goes back to whether it's on a slab or whether it's elevated. And so what we're trying to do is comply with what the state asks us to do, and Facility Build is doing as well. And I don't want to make excuses. I just want to tell you what I know at this point and continue to do that. But needless to say, we have been surprised by some of these things, because when we went to Dennis Friends, when we went to the council, even going back to some of our initial conversations that you and I had in my office, we never anticipated all this because of the experiences that we had seen in other places in New Mexico.
So, and this may be an unfair question, but we talked back last February and March that we want to try to get this building before the heat of the summer came. Now we're facing the cold of the winter. And my understanding is we have one less of the concrete cells that we had before. So where are the animals going to be housed? How's that going to work?
we are looking at all the options that we have, and I don't have that answer for you at this point. I can just tell you that we're trying to
I
solve the
said it was an
problem.
unfair question.
Yeah, well, no question's unfair necessarily.
Councilor Burkett.
So my question is, what sort of additional expenses we're going to look at, and why those expenses should not be the responsibility of the person building this, since we paid custom home prices for virtually a tub shed that has utilities. I'm very curious at close to $300 a square foot, why we're absorbing any additional costs that were oversights on their part.
Our position at this point is that that's a fair question, and we've asked our attorneys to start looking at this, but in the meantime, we want to try to solve the problem and see if we can't continue to look at that as a way of going back and seeing that there might be other financial responsibility the company may harbor.
Councilor Murray.
Thank you. So why wouldn't the state take some of this? Because they're the ones that screwed up the first place. I mean, they allowed a building to come in, and yet the CID failed to probably apply the appropriate regulations to it to be built up in Sandoval County. And now they're penalizing us for doing it.
Well, there seems to be some finger pointing going on between the state and the company. And again, our position right now is we want to try to get this thing right so that it's workable, and then we'll try to address some of the liabilities later on. But as a counselor, I don't necessarily disagree with you on that.
Anything else?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to turn to Melanie now to give a short comprehensive plan update.
Thank you, Ron, Mayor, councilors. We've had over 1,200 people now take the village survey. I know there was some question about not all of the survey answers showing up. So one of the things that I did when I made the survey live was it asked me, do you want recipient or people who've taken the survey to be able to see where their answers compare to everybody else who's taken it so far? And I thought, hey, that sounds like a cool idea. Let's do that. But it did say that not all the questions would be available to people taking the survey, but it didn't tell me which ones wouldn't show up. Well, it turns out that the one question everybody wants to know is who supports the multi-use ACE facility? And that question just happens to not show up for residents. So I have had a couple residents who have reached out to me and asked for an update on that. And so I email those numbers to them when they ask. If anybody wants to know, I do have some results for you this evening. And let me find it here. I've got too many tabs open, just like on my computer in my office. Oh, hold on. So far about 27% of the, or 23% of the residents strongly support the project. Here we go. No, sorry, 29.51 strongly support, 26.06 somewhat support, 21.89% are neutral, 9.78% somewhat oppose, and 12.75% strongly oppose. So that is the update on that. And if council has any questions on any of the survey questions or responses so far, I'm happy to answer those as well.
Can I ask you, Melanie, what is the exact wording on that question? Because it seems like this multi-use center is kind of a constantly evolving thing. And so what it turns out to end up being may be different than what the question asked, or is it very vague?
So the question itself, it's a multi-part question. So it says, please rate your level of support for the following potential community projects. And the last question on there says, building a multi-use center for education, community, and the arts on the Jones property west of the post office and north of the recreation center.
Okay. Thank you.
Counselor,
Thank you. I know this is kind of maybe a sore point, but with the survey being out in the wild the way it is, as a general survey, and anybody can hop on and take the survey, by not limiting them to one person per survey, we may get some skewed data. And I'm a little worried that, what happens if you get somebody who says, oh, I'm not going to sleep between 12 and midnight, or 12 and 6 a.m. I'm just going to sit here and answer this survey multiple times. I mean, how are we going to be able to scrutinize the data and make sure that it's valid what we want to look at?
This is just one way that they're compiling data for the comprehensive plan. And that was why they decided to add the questions at the end of the survey about the survey taker, so we can see if it is skewed towards one population or another. So, it's one of those things, it was a toss-up. Our options were allow only one response per device, which means that, in households that only have one computer, but 2 people living there, only one of those residents could be able to fill out the survey. And that is a valid question and something that the committee has talked about, and I have been assured that they have some method of being able to figure out if somebody has done that. But I think so far with our responses being at about 1,200 surveys, I don't think that any, maybe somebody's answered it twice, a paper survey and an online survey, but.
Well, you're lucky if you get even a 20% response on a survey. Typically, I mean, that's, people don't like surveys in general, but you're lucky if you get a 20% response.
Yeah.
We're actually hoping that they will respond to this one because it's not long. It's fairly limited. It's fairly limited length. They did it was like 5 minutes, 8 minutes, something like that.
Average time so far in the survey results has been about 18 minutes for
15,
people to take
okay,
it.
I was off a little bit. But no, that was the whole idea, is to keep it simple, keep it short, and come up with a document that is not complicated that will be used. I mean, that was the whole, and I think Chris Allen has done a very good job in putting it all together. And you guys have been very helpful by having your get-togethers. So hopefully we'll come up with a good comprehensive plan. Okay. Anybody else?
okay. So I'm sure this will come up later on, but I want to remind you all that on Thursday night, we have a special meeting, and we would certainly like to have a quorum so that we can move forward on the issue of that's on the agenda for that night. Just as a reminder, if you're available, either by Zoom or in person, we'd love to see your faces.
We absolutely have to see your face.
But it could be either.
Yeah, you can come by Zoom, sure. No, but we want to finish this.
Yeah.
And so it's important that, you come. We have a quorum. So it means we need 4 of us.
I will not be available by either method, so just for calculation purposes, I will.
Well, then we'll just shoot you.
That's right. My vote wasn't very good anyway, probably, so.
Okay, it's okay. We understand. that it's
We've
sort
heard of your circumstances, and you win.
We understand there are some situations, it just happens. But do the best you can.
So a couple of other things that are important, and this came up on our staff meeting today, and it seems like common sense, I guess, is that Marion Freer, our librarian, made a request that when people are sick, she would really like not for them to come to the library.
Okay.
And I know there's comfort in sitting in a quiet place when you're not feeling well, but just keep that in mind. You might pass that along. If you're sick, stay home. So I'm going to ask Melanie to do something here. She actually heard this, and this is about 2 new residents of Corrales. on the radio on 103, the Peak.
100.3.
Jackie and Tony, who are new residents of Corrales. And Melanie happened to hear this as she was coming into work one day. And we're not going to play the entire clip because they're talking about chickens and names for chickens and stuff like that, as morning drive people often do to entertain folks. And so, but it's interesting hearing from new residents of Corrales. So Melanie, if you'll play that clip loud and clear, please.
Pointing out to Jackie all of her new things, like, hey, there's your new Target. It's right over there. And this, oh yeah, you're gonna have to get us some sort of slip sign to come back to this Target.
No, I put in my time. Yeah, I
there's your
built
new-
that Target.
There's your new grocery store. Look at that. There it is. Or hey, there's your new this or that. And no,
You need to let a girl ease into a big change. Thank you very much. Again, I'm leaving the city.
Sure.
I love Albuquerque and everything you've given me. I need to leave the comfort of being, within walking distance to my high school.
it's gonna be a long drive for you, especially in the afternoon. You don't
Hey,
want to.
you laugh. The one thing that everybody has told me about Corrales is that those police live to give you a ticket. That is all I've heard from everybody from Corrales is if you go a mile over the speed limit, they're going to get you. So it is going to take me a long time to get to work.
All right.
Thank you,
second
Mayor.
that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We'll take it.
Okay, we'll move on to Counselors Forum. This section is for informational purposes only, not for discussion or debate, to inform the governing body of an issue or concern that would not be addressed on the agenda during this business session. Who wants to start? Counselor Burkett.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to offer a huge congratulations to the village and Parks and Rec for Trunk or Treat. It was incredible this year. There was the Anderson property was completely full of people parking. The balloons were great. Even without the electricity because of construction of the gym, I was blown away by how many people were there and how many people had a very good time. So congratulations to everyone involved. It was a lot of effort, I know, and but it was worth it.
And the balloons helped.
It was great. I mean, yeah, light and warmth.
Anybody else? Okay. Move on to Corrales Forum. This section is for informational purposes only, not for discussion or debate. To inform the governing body of an issue or concern that would not be addressed on the agenda during this business session. There is a 3-minute time limit. According to Village Code, Section 2-60G3, regarding public decorum during a meeting, no person shall act in a disorderly manner, nor while addressing the governing body shall any person make any personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks. Presiding officer may bar anyone acting inappropriately from continuing his address to the governing body. Okay.
First up is Mr. Fred Hashimoto. If you could state your name and address for the record, you will have 3 minutes.
Hi, Mayor and Council. I'm Fred Hashimoto. I live at 485 East La Entrada in the village. For the MUF, or MUF project, that involves public land and public funding, informing the public and getting their input is paramount. ACE and MUF committees and the mayor have all said that. At the April 8th presentation before you all, the presenter admitted that no public forums had been held. Councilor Alsobrook then suggested having a structured outreach approach so that the public could learn and give input. Isn't that a good idea? For the record, I like the arts in Corrales and favor an arts and cultural designation. I also favor a multi-use facility, but I do not favor the current regional theater design. It's a large, elaborate theater complex with few rooms added on for some inclusivity and to gain buy-in. It covers 70% of the facility's area and much greater than that in total cost. The starter question is, who's going to use this large, elaborate theater and generate revenue to offset costs? What are the revenue expectations? The Adobe Theater moved from the old church, which can seat 150, to its current venue, which has only 90 seats. They seem content and are welcome there indefinitely. If the Adobe doesn't work out for MUF, what's the next alternative? The Vortex Theater also seats 90. The Outpost, which features widely renowned musicians, seat 160. Small can be preferable to large. Many community actors, and I'm a community musician, prefer a smaller, intimate space with a full audience to a larger one with many empty chairs. Let's get more information on users, costs, revenue generation, traffic flows, and other essential items. We heard about the comprehensive plan survey. We are learning the historic small-town village character is most highly valued. And that probably 2/3 of the residents who answered the survey said that increased traffic is strongly felt to decrease quality of life here. Both can be impacted negatively by a large regional theater. We all need more information about the current proposed $8 million regional theater. We should take Councilor Alsobrooks' suggestion and have a couple of Zoom recorded public forums where ACE can make presentations and the community can interact with it, learn about the design, and give input. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, up next is Mr. Rick Toller. If you could state your name and address for the record, you will also have 3 minutes.
Hi, Rick Toller, 483 Hanson Road. I understand that the MRCOG can't advise you directly on your quest to develop a process to request a traffic engineering study, but that they would recommend somebody for you to talk to, and I guess this hasn't happened yet, and nobody knows when it will happen. I called the public safety liaison for Los Ranchos, whose name is Fred Radosevich, and I strongly advise you to call him because he knows a lot about this issue. He's a career law enforcement professional, has a second career doing public safety consulting, including his role in Los Ranchos, extensive experience with traffic and traffic control. In Los Ranchos, if they need a traffic engineering study, they ask their on-call engineer to provide one. They don't have a process. They don't have to get permission from the people that live on the road to do it. They do it. They gather the information, the data that is needed to make a decision, and then they make the decision. You'll probably find the same thing from any other expert you talk to about this issue. We don't need an elaborate process to get a study done to inform your decisions about the safety of the lives of the citizens of this village. I'll repeat again, New Mexico is once again number 1 in pedestrian traffic deaths all over in the nation. All over the state, municipalities are taking steps to reduce the risk of pedestrian deaths. You are putting up obstacles to reducing that risk. We need to dismantle the attitude that privileges cars and traffic flow over public safety, and we need to do it now. Having said that, a bright spot of progress on West La Entrada is that we've been seeing increased presence from Corrales Police, and we thank you for that very much. And we hope you'll keep it up. And also, in addition to a traffic study that might come up with such things as lowering the speed limit, which I'm in favor of, there are a whole lot of other things that we could do that are very obvious that have not yet been done after a year of addressing you on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and last on the list tonight is Ms. Deborah Tyroller. If you can state your name and address for the record, you will also have 3 minutes.
Hello, I'm Deborah Tyroller, 133 Desert Willow Road. And I'm here with some of my neighbors. And you have a copy of a letter that we sent yesterday to the mayor and a few other people. And now you all have a copy of it. We are concerned about a project that we just found out about this weekend, which is to backfill the San Mateo interior drain, which is the ditch that is in our neighborhood. And the ditch is something that we all use to walk on, ride horses on. Our kids played on it growing up. And it's just a really special green space in our neighborhood. We understand that there are concerns regarding fire. Perhaps this is one of the reasons that we actually don't really know what's going on. We just heard that this project was happening, and I actually think that now that I've spoken to the village clerk, that it's possible that we have a lot of things wrong. So what we're really coming forward to in terms of whose project it is it the village's project, or is it belong to the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District? But what we're coming forward to ask you is to please include us in any project and to please stop this project until you include us. We would like to be able to understand the issues and to be able to present other options if there could be other options to destroying this open space. Referencing, as we do in our letter, the Corrales Comprehensive Plan, if this is just turned into a big sandlot, it's destroying the rural character of our neighborhood, and it's destroying a lot of what makes Corrales special for us. And there's many people that enjoy it that don't live in our neighborhood. My street, Desert Willow, has tons of people coming from other places in the village on their horses to access the ditch. And there's all kinds of great wildlife on the end that's towards Corrales Road. So, I mean, we just really want to ask for an open process that involves us and gives us a chance to offer alternatives. So we thank you. And I do want to also say that we just found out about this Saturday night, and I was in just a Sunday afternoon after we composed this letter, I was able to gather 25 signatures just walking around my neighborhood. I didn't even go across the ditch to the other side, over to Applewood. I mean, there's many people impacted who I'm pretty sure treasure this space as well. And I think that we would have 100 signatures if we put the hours in. It wouldn't be hard. I didn't really talk to anyone who didn't want to sign. So I just thank you and hope you'll consider it and let us know what we can do. We want to be included, and we are willing to take it, whatever the proper process is. We don't really know. Thank you.
That's it?
That's it?
That's it?
Okay. So, Ms. Tyroller?
Yes.
There is no project. I don't know who told you that there was a project, but there is no project.
There's no plan to do that?
There is no plan that is anywhere at this time to do that. Okay? And you will know, and it will be because of fire, more than likely, because that was an issue that was raised several years ago by a counselor about fire in this area. But there is no plan nor a project to fill the ditch. You can speak up.
Well, there are other issues that have arisen out of this. It's been productive for us to, even if there's no basis for
There you
the
go.
project.
Silver lining.
It's given us an opportunity to raise our concerns about the overgrowth of shrubs in the ditch. And we're not sure whether it's Middle Rio Grande or the fire department that has primary responsibility to be sure that that shrubbery is raised, cut down.
Well, we live here, so we're concerned. All of us here are concerned. And if you have issues with undergrowth, overgrowth, dead and down, whatever, please tell us. But there is no plan to fill in a drain. Well, at this time, I'll say at this time, because I don't have a clue what's going to happen in 10 or 20 years. But
We weren't sure whether we were proceeding on a rumor or not, but
well, you did the right thing. You came and asked. I tried to correct your email a little bit because the drain was confusing when you said Nichols, because see, that's behind Gary Canaan's property.
I got it from whoever told me about
All right, so ask us. That lady right over there knows a lot, and she can help a lot if you have questions. And Fire Chief Anthony Martinez can tell you about dealing with undergrowth. It's very important because if you have a fire at your house, there needs to be access, and you guys are responsible for your own property. We'll be more than glad to help where we can, but there's certain things we're limited on as far as the violation of the anti-donation clause. But the fact that you guys are talking, that's good. That's a plus. Thanks for coming. Okay, next. Number one. Consideration action approval of Main Street event application for holiday tree lighting, and that will be on.
Mayor.
Mayor,
I'm sorry, what'd I do?
we got to go with the consent agenda.
Oh, did I forget that? I got
Well, we
so carried away
got
discussing,
distracted.
yeah. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you very much. And thanks for telling me. Second?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good. Okay. Now we'll move on to new business. Consideration action approval of Main Street event application for holiday tree lighting on November 25th, and that'll be right out here. Right out here. I got it. I figured it out. And so do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve that. All those, any discussion at all? It's a good thing. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Good enough. Consideration action approval of Main Street event application for Starlight Parade on December 2nd at 5:15. And it starts,
30.
I got 5:30. Well, I thought you just wanted us there early. Okay, 5:30. We'll do 5:30. Do you want to talk about it? Well, where are we going to start? Where does it start?
It starts at Wagner's.
It starts at Wagner's?
Yeah,
Okay,
and then it goes down the road.
okay,
And then at Double S by the post office,
okay.
we'll go through the Public Works Department and people can come out the back end. Or people that have loud music and want to give away candy to children, and we don't want murdered on
No
Corrales
candy on
Road.
Corrales
No,
Road.
but you can go to the Growers Market parking lot and park your float and give away candy and have
good
music.
idea.
Did Anthony leave already? Yeah. Okay, I was going to ask
Okay.
if he's going to have a bonfire?
He's
You
gonna
know?
have a bonfire and green chili.
Okay,
We're having our cider and cookies, et cetera, Saint Nick.
sounds like a real party.
It is, and then Susie Tolman is working with some children for the tree lighting. They're gonna sing songs and they're gonna sing at this bonfire. And Frank Lido from the Cottonwood School Steel Band is gonna show up. Why am I echoing? I'll stand back here. And remote control mini balloons are gonna be in the back soccer field to
Cool.
look like Christmas ornaments.
You know, you're on TV. Did you know that?
Huh? Oh, on that? Oh, I know.
Counselor Burkett, did you have
I
something?
was just letting you see
Oh.
yourself on TV.
All right.
Seeing
So,
if my hair turned out okay. What?
It looks great.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
We need- Wait, we need a motion.
We got the motion.
You got the move.
No,
No. Okay, well,
Not-
so
not for
moved.
this
This
one.
is a different one. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay,
That was
do
true.
I have a motion?
You have a motion, so
We
moved.
And a
have two,
second.
we have two motions, four and a second.
who was the second?
Rick,
Okay, same as the first one. Okay.
Zach was first.
Right.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything you do.
Bit of sarcasm there.
Yeah, well, after this afternoon, gosh. Consideration action approval of resolution 23-69, approval of amendments to the village fees schedule. So I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Do I have, that's Counselor Waldman
Second.
and a second from Counselor Knight. Does anybody want to talk about this? Yes, sir, Counselor Murray.
Well, my only comment is, have we reviewed the entire fee schedule and made changes where it's, to the entire thing, or is it just?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
So we're not applying fees that are 20 years old?
No, sir.
Fair enough.
This was all done, I believe Sky did most of it, right? Or the two people, or the two clerks did it.
So the version that's in your packet, anything that's in red is what was added or changed. So some of those were just fees that didn't make it into the packet. I don't know what happened originally, but the wastewater connection fees hadn't been in there and were added to make sure that.
And are we limited by the state on some of these fees then?
I'm sorry, say again?
Are we limited by the New Mexico state on some of these fees? Like,
I don't know, perhaps.
Business registrations and notaries are set by state statute.
Thank you.
But our fees were part of an ordinance, and we've taken them out so that they can be modified or adjusted as needed in the future.
There's a few still in ordinance that we need to pull out,
Okay.
but it's, I printed out all the pages that have a fee on ordinance, and it's like 60-some pages, so it's gonna take us a little while
Yeah.
to work through all of that.
Okay, all right.
But these are all the ones that were either explicitly stated in ordinance, and we just left it as is, or already state that they can be set by resolution.
Okay. How do you vote, Counselor Murray?
Yes.
Counselor Burkett?
Yes.
Counselor Knight?
Aye.
Counselor Woolman?
Aye.
Counselor Miera?
Yes, sir.
There you go, 5-0. Consideration, action, and approval of Resolution 23-70, Lodgers Tax Funds Disbursement for Granicus Costs. I need a motion to approve, please.
So moved.
From
Second.
Counselor Murray and a second from Counselor Miera. Remember, we've talked about Granicus in the past. They help us with Airbnb and lodgers tax. Any other questions? Any other?
Just one, when does this system go live? Because I still feel like we're missing a ton of lodgers tax and.
So we just sent off we needed to send over a spreadsheet of the ones that we had that have been approved. And so it's been sent to them. They did send us some initial numbers that there are 53. From their searches, they believe there are 53 short-term rentals operating in the village. And we have 22 are compliant and paying lodgers tax and have all of the proper
And
approvals.
for the month of Balloon Fiesta, we collected like $2,700 in lodgers tax, which means about $60,000 in spend only, which seems really, really low.
We'll do better next year.
That's right.
So we
That's
do
our
have
goal.
some short-term rentals that are also long-term.
Okay.
So a couple of my owners that I've talked to are actually currently renting long-term to Intel people that have come out for trainings, or they're here to train, and they're here for a year, or they're here for 6 months. One of them is located on Krause Road. It's Longhorns of Corrales. So they haven't started the short-term process paying lodgers tax to us because they are renting long-term, but eventually they'll go to short-term, so.
Counselor Miera, how do you vote?
Yes, sir.
Counselor Woolman?
Aye.
Counselor Knight?
Aye.
Counselor Burkett?
Aye.
Counselor Murray?
Yes.
Thank you. 5-0. Consideration action approval of Resolution 23-71, Lodgers Tax Funds Disbursement for Christmas de los Caballos Parade Costs. Now, this is something that was an oversight in the original resolution, that is the gross receipts tax was not included, or what? What exactly?
They needed an additional police
Police
officer.
Oh,
or
police officer,
Two
that's
additional police officers that were not included on the original request.
So I need a
So moved,
motion.
sir.
I got a motion. I need a second.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Counselor
Yeah.
Murray, how do you vote?
Yes.
Counselor Burkett?
Yes.
Counselor Knight?
Aye.
Counselor Woolman?
Aye.
Counselor Miera?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 5-0. Okay, consideration action approval of Resolution 23-72, Lodgers Tax Funds Disbursement for Main Street Events Costs. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And a second. And so what was this additional for?
This was a new request for funds for the tree lighting and
That's right.
the parade.
Okay,
Because I guess this was the first year that they knew that they could request that.
gotcha. Okay. Any questions? Yes, sir.
David, if I could
Go ahead.
address Main Street, the Small Business Saturday, are there special events, special businesses, any activity surrounding that, or just a designation?
So you get on tape.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus, they want you on the camera too.
Yeah, on TV. No, that's a good question. Small Business Saturday is an American Express, nationally promoted event, if you will. And then New Mexico Main Street obviously has a lot of kind of more local promotion kind of capabilities. It's also a tax holiday. And so this year, we've always promoted it, but I think this year we're hoping and, really trying to get everybody, in the district to elevate it together. So what that looks like is everyone promoting it to their own followers. So each business has its own, group, and then we're promoting a code, that's basically like an online coupon or something that people can reference when they walk in, and each place is, can customize it as their own. And then I think we're just really working for a lot more signage, promotion, because Corrales is an obvious small business district to support on that day. So I think, the tax holiday is obviously a big emphasis too, so people understand that.
Is that new, the tax holiday on Small Business Saturday? It's always been that?
No, at least in the past few years. Yeah, so, and then the way the tree lighting is attached to all of this, that's obviously a first annual community event that we're attempting to launch. But one of the potential draws is that we're going to be hosting a drawing. And so anyone who can produce a receipt from a Corrales business on that day is eligible to put it in for a drawing of a basket of local Corrales merchandise.
Nice, great,
So,
nice.
yeah, we're hoping to get people to shop and incentivize to come to the tree lighting. So we're hoping to elevate it.
Oh, excuse me, Stuart.
Well, that's all right. Thank you, Mayor. So it used to be we put banners across the roadway to advertise. I mean, is the DOT preventing us from doing that anymore?
It sounds like we can.
You don't use the wall.
Well, any banner used to be across the road, but
You got a business that he would go 3 or 4 days.
why would P&M, but I mean, they're using their poles?
Like your style.
But it is a good space to really catch people.
Yeah. All right. Or how about putting a sign up at the rec center then? Just big one,
Yeah. Well, our intention is to do a lot of signage. I know that's, seems to be the way we communicate in Corrales, is a lot, through signs, honestly, which could be a bigger conversation later, but signs are the way to kind of catch everybody. So, yeah.
I put up a bunch last year for Small Business Saturday.
See, that goes.
At my wife's request.
So if this is successful, perhaps there should be some consideration for maybe a budget to put together something like banners and, to get everybody's attention for this specific day.
Yes, it is. I think it's, we'll be able to probably gauge a little bit more data this year, see how many of the businesses actually use the code, and find how many people reference it and, if what the uptick in shopping is. But the lodger's tax application was, a benefit,
right.
and understanding that we could apply for that for the promotional aspect.
Sure, the
was really
advertising,
helpful.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
So thank you. Yes, I think it's definitely a good thing to get behind and an obvious, thing to promote with the tax holiday, et
Anybody
cetera.
else? Okay, so
Thanks.
Thank you.
how do you vote, Councilor Miera?
Yes, sir.
Councilor Waldman?
Aye.
Councilor Knight?
Aye.
Councilor Murray?
Yes.
Councilor Burkett?
Aye.
All right. that
Mr.
passed.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I remember we started talking about lodger's taxes the other day, but we have some money, that's great, we're spending it. Do we have any money left after all this?
I think we had
About
quite a bit, actually.
$24,000.
Huh?
About $24,000.
There you go. What a good idea.
He'll buy you a couple of six-packs.
At least.
Barely these days.
All right, so let's move on. Consideration action approval of agreement of resolution 23-73 approving the purchase agreement between the Village of Corrales and Wells Fargo Bank, N.A. Yes, Councilor Knight.
I have a question about this one.
You gonna make a motion?
I need to make the motion first. Okay. so-
I would rather you make a
yeah,
motion.
I'll make
Are
it.
you gonna make it?
For discussion.
Okay, let's fight over it.
Yeah, I'll second if he wants to make the motion.
I'll make the motion for discussion purposes.
Okay, we have a motion to approve resolution 23-73 and a second from Councilor Burkett, and Councilor Knight wants to talk.
I need some clarification. So I noticed on page 115, it talks about a lease termination agreement. Now, what we're buying the property, so what is the lease termination?
ATM.
Okay,
The
so,
ATM stays there.
okay,
But they wrote into the contract, and Corey can correct me, but I think they wrote into the contract issues about the ATM and how it's terminated.
Well, also, the Wells Fargo Bank leases part of the Gonzalez property, which now is a lease with the village.
Oh, yeah, that's.
So if we buy that, then that terminates the lease because we aren't going to lease back property to ourselves.
okay, all righty, I got that then. All
Yes, sir,
right.
Council Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. So would they be amenable to moving the ATM over to the front of the building, maybe later in the?
Don't know.
Because it seems to me that maybe having it in front of the building might be more visible than having a drive-through where, depending on whether the lights are on or not.
I would assume they probably don't want to do anything with it. That would be my assumption. But we can certainly ask them at another point in time if they would do that. But I think there's reasons they put it where it is.
Well, I'm sure, but I mean, it allows us then to use the Gonzalez property, I mean, the backside of that building in a way that might be conducive more to, what we're doing.
I don't think it's that big an area, but, we can certainly talk about that.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, we've had some purchases in the last couple of years of property. And I think the funds came from a source that the council may not have been up to date on. Can you tell us where the funds for this is going to come from?
The funds for this are either going to come from the LGIP, Local Government Investment Pool, or from our general fund, our cash fund within the village.
Don't know as yet.
Cash that we have on hand that's
Right.
come from revenue.
Right.
Could go
And
either
that determination will be made, probably sometime around the first of the year or later. As you can see within the contract, there are certain times that have to be passed as far as inspections and otherwise. So we will look at it at that time to see which is most advantageous for the village as far as interest, or whether we think that we've got the cash flow coming out of our cash.
So the money, this would not be, you wouldn't go to a bank to get a loan. This would
Oh,
be,
no.
This
This
would
is
be a
gonna be
straight
cash.
purchase. Okay.
Correct. Now, we did talk about that.
We did, right.
But that's just another one of those things, you look at all your alternatives, all the possibilities. We also want to be sure that we do due diligence with this building, although they did some renovation on it in the recent years, so it should be okay. But we want to make sure it's okay.
It doesn't specify, sort of the agreement that I read, the size of the building. We thought it was about an acre of land. Looks like it's about a little over half an acre.
A little over half an acre, and it's about 2,200 square feet.
I think so, between 2,000 and 2,200, I
Yeah.
think.
Okay.
It has how much, 2.5 or 2?
Restrooms?
3 acre feet, isn't it?
3
Oh,
acre
3
feet.
acre feet of water, yeah.
3 acre feet of water.
Because that's not it, that's not in the agreement.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That's in there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Because that's kind of a
Good deal.
big deal.
Deal?
Yeah.
So just as a side note, when the initial offer proposal was given to us, it was stated that there had the 3 acre feet. And when we were going through the appraisal process with the appraisal, when they first looked at it, they were not completely aware that the offer included the 3 acre feet of water. And once they considered that, it took the appraisal up to well over $400,000, well over $410,000. And in fact, there had been an offer. The village was given first right of refusal on this, as I think I've mentioned to you in the past. And immediately after it was known that the bank was going to be for sale, there were some offers made to Wells Fargo that exceeded $420,000. And because they had given us first right of refusal because of where the location of the property is in relationship to our properties, we were there at 395, including the 3 acre feet of water. So we were concerned as a village in doing our due diligence that we wanted the appraisal to be at least $395,000 so that we wouldn't have to explain that to the state or anybody else. So once the appraisal was fully informed that the 3 acre feet of water were there, that took us over the finish line. And So it's very satisfying at this point, I think.
That's great. Great.
Yes, sir, Councilman Murray.
Well, I just want to add my 2 cents that I think this is a great buy for the village because we've got all sorts of opportunity with Main Street, with the Village Visitor Center. I think this is just, and it also ties into everything over there by the park and the Gonzalez property. So I'm all for it.
Now, to address something I think Rick brought up some time ago.
Thank you, sir.
We are going to ask, we have asked the Main Street State Main Street, if for the person that they have who can assist us in sort of putting all of these properties together in a package, if you want to think of it that way. So it's more organized, and the way we approach them is more organized. Although we think we're pretty organized, there are a lot of things that we need and we want to get. But I think that there's no reason, if we have it available to us, there's no reason not to use that consultation.
Yeah, I think it's great.
So
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's great. I was just going to bring that up. I said, that issue, but I was going to pick it on the announcer agenda items, but I think we know where we're going on that one. And mostly because when asked, we can pull it up a sheet of paper that says, on this one, we did this one, we're thinking about doing this. And this is not in cement, it's liquid at all places, but at least we've been talking about it initially and then have some ideas of what we're going to be doing after that. So thank you.
Okay. How do you vote, Councilor Murray?
Yes.
Councilor Burkett?
Yes.
Councilor Knight?
Aye.
Councilor Woolman?
Aye.
Yes,
Councilor
sir.
Mira? Everybody votes yes, so that is done. Future agenda items, announcements, special meeting of the council on November 16th at 6 p.m. for approval of the Huff Flora plat. Action on adopting meeting procedures at a date to be determined. And we're putting that together. And it's very similar to what we do anyway, but it's in a more organized format. Answers a lot of the questions that have come up over the years, last couple of years. Approval of 2024 holidays for the village staff. We'll do that on 12/12. Approval of Open Meetings Act resolution for 2024. We'll do that on 12/12. And then we'll have a swearing in ceremony for all our newly elected officials.
Wow.
Yeah, let's
I
swear.
ran into the judge at Albertsons the other day, and he was very
That
excited.
happens, in this part of the country. Yeah.
He's very excited
Well, good.
to preside over this.
Well, he's a Corrales resident.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Anybody have anything else that they would like to see before the end of the year, if we can slip it in?
Just the one meeting, right?
Yeah, we
Between now
just
and the
had
end of the
one.
year.
Yeah, we relented and had one in November and one in December. Or hold it and we'll put it on for January if we have a space. I think we'll probably start having spaces maybe after January where we can slide stuff in. Yes, sir.
So when's the audit begin?
Audit's started.
Okay. And to be completed when?
It's due to the state by December 15th, so we don't know when, but it's on track to be in on
Okay.
time.
And we don't get a report until like February or March, right?
We don't even talk about it.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, we don't talk about it.
Well,
Yeah, it's a touchy subject in the office.
No, for sure, I don't want it.
I'm going to get my knuckles
Never.
wrapped tomorrow.
No, for sure, I don't want it.
Raina's going to yell at us if we
She'll
talk
yell
about
at
it.
us, she will. It's sort of like, it's bad luck to talk about it, you know. Okay, if there's nothing else to talk about, I consider this business session ended and we're going to adjourn.